spoke there, Peter?
You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
And we're back.
We're back.
For another fantastic episode of Maximum Driftcast.
Maximum Driftcast, that's what it is.
And you know,
this is extra special. We have a very special guest on the line today. It is
Odi
Bakchis. Odi, we're just gonna get right into it. Odi, what are you watching right now?
We're watching Disney Channel right now, me and Adrinna.
All right, can you? We're done with you, Odi. Thank you. Can you pass the mic to Adrinna?
Yeah, sure thing. Adrinna, can you
Hi,
hear?
Adrinna.
Adrinna.
Hey, talk to this man right here. Say hi.
Adrinna, why isn't your dad better at drifting? What does he need to do to improve?
Because I like it when he drifts.
Because you like it when he drifts.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good enough answer.
Yep.
Thank you, Adrinna.
Say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for your tips.
Is that
All right, Odi.
is that
Odi, did you get all
officially
that?
is that officially the most adorable guest we had so far?
I hope so. Yeah, she's adorable.
Odi, can you turn Disney Channel down just a hair so we don't get a copyright notice?
No problem. Let me walk a little further away.
Just leave your kid unsupervised. It's fine. She'll take care of herself.
No. The TV's taking care of her.
Yeah. Tell me when you guys cannot hear it
No,
anymore.
we're good. We're good.
We're good. We can actually start talking without you for a little bit, pretending that you're not even here.
No.
Yeah, because usually, Odi, we start the show without a guest, even though we're live already right now and everyone's already listening. We're going to talk without you and pretend like you're not here. All right, so let's get into the conversation, Corey and Paco. Least favorite drivers, go.
Aurimas butt cheeks.
And who else?
All right, Corey, what about you?
Mine's a toss-up between. Oh boy, this is a tough one. I'm gonna say Nick Hogan and Odi.
Wow.
Dang. All right. Ring. Who's interrupting this Driftcast?
Oh,
Odi,
could that
talk
be?
now.
Oh, what's up,
Oh,
guys?
hey! We were just talking about
our favorite
favorite
Formula
driver. Yeah. Odi.
Yeah, Odi, cool. You're here.
welcome,
We're
dude.
happy about that.
Yeah, we were just talking about you, how you did so good last year and stuff. So thanks for being a part of this. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, glad to hear you guys are big fans.
Oh yeah, for, all the time. You know.
It's the first-time fan, long-time fan, first-time caller, Odi.
Now, here's some first question I have for you, Odi. I understand you're going to be running a new car this season, a brand new 1995 Nissan 240SX. Is that true?
Yeah. Brand
Nailed
new
it.
since 2012 for me.
Yeah. No, but let's get into it. Get dirty. You're all seriousness. You're running your 240 again. You're one of the last dudes running a 240, and you're loud and proud, and you know how to drive it, right?
You know, I like the car. I willingly drive a 240, a crusty old Nissan,
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong
by
with that.
choice. Yeah.
We saw
get-
we saw a Tesla on your lift. We're like, oh, that's it. You know, Odi's coming out with a Tesla.
Doing the electric slide?
Yeah, you know, we tried. The wheelbase is just too long. Can't
Really?
do it.
Really?
Is that a Model S or a Model 3?
That was the Model S. The Model 3 has more hope. It's got a shorter wheelbase. But this is all FEAL suspension R&D stuff at this point.
Oh.
Do you want mine?
Ooh, you got a Model 3 already?
I don't, but I reserved it the night they announced the car.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
all right. You'll get in about like 3 years.
I
think
know.
it's solid.
Did you do the same thing? Are you on the list?
No, I'm not on the list, unfortunately.
Yeah, they told me like middle of the year. Now they pushed it back from beginning of the year to middle, so we'll see. But I guess if I want to get it different from stock height and stock feel, can I call FEAL suspension and see what I can do?
We are actually working with a company that specializes in Tesla stuff, so
Sorry,
it
Sam.
might have to be bought through them, but
Yeah, but I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are gonna have.
Once you get
exclusives.
your Model 3 in 5 years, you can hit us up.
That doesn't sound very
Once
positive.
it's available.
All right, fine, Odi.
Odi is such a such a troll.
I know. Well, it
It's
seems like he's in a
mean.
bad mood, like
Well,
he's been working on a drift car.
No,
making
it's
it
just the
work.
thing
this
is
season.
sometimes success gets to your head, and
Yeah.
all this crazy success he's been experiencing,
It's kind of a star.
it's just now he's not super outspoken. He's frenemies. It's tough being him right now. So I can understand it.
Oh man.
What would it like to be?
Oh,
what would it
man.
like to be on Odi's shoes right now?
I just the fame and glory, man.
Well,
He quietly got third place in points in 2017. 2018, what's your plan? Just get worse, or are you gonna get better?
The plans to get better.
Nice.
Always.
That's not much room to get better. It's
an
only two more
it's an
spots to get better.
Interesting strategy right there.
Yeah.
So
What-
you just have to beat Frederick Osbo, James Dean. They haven't accomplished much.
No, not at all.
So it shouldn't be too hard to get both those guys under
I
your
just
heel.
gotta do it quietly again.
Yeah.
Slip in there,
Have you ever thought about like clubbing one in the knee or like any type of strategy like that? Trying
Doing
to find
some
an easy
Tonya
way?
Harding type stuff, or
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like you got game plans, Corey. Maybe I'll have to consult with you. After this
Well,
show.
actually, Paco, Sam, and I started a company that does stuff like that. So if you need us, you can call us and we'll help.
you guys probably accept Coinbit.
Coinbit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's a new one, right?
yeah.
That's the Lithuanian
yeah,
cryptocurrency.
Coinbit. That's Odi's new deal. Accepting it at FEAL.
Yeah.
So looking
ahead.
at the 2017 standings here, Odi is our best chance against the foreign invaders of Frederick and James, and he's got the least American name out of anyone on the grid. So it's unfortunate that you're all that we have to represent us, Aurimas Bakchis.
That's well said. I like the way you pronounce it.
is that how you say it?
It's a lot closer than 95% of the people.
Should we all take a whack at it real quick?
Aurimas Bakchis.
Ooh,
That's not
How
bad.
does Jared? Jared says it right most of the time, right?
Yeah, he I think tries too hard sometimes.
Aurimas.
But I think he gets a joy out of like rolling his R's and overdoing it.
Hold on, Adrinna has something. What is it, Adrinna?
Adrina, what is it? You could eat your cookies now.
that is very important.
Yeah, she ate her dinner. She could eat her cookies now.
Nice.
Corey still
Yeah.
can't eat him, by the way.
No,
He's still
yes.
waiting for you to let him.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you at the end of the show if I can have some cookies, but
Speaking of Corey, actually I'm boiling some hot dogs. So
I
no,
wish you
you're
were.
no, I'm not.
I wish.
But I
you
totally
were.
forgot. So the water's probably super boiling. And
Oh no.
You can have a nice
Drop my-
milky,
drop the wieners in there.
a nice milky
Oh,
water.
look at that. There you go.
That's a
That is
beautiful shot.
fantastic that Odie knows the
Oh,
show.
yeah.
Oh, God. All right.
Oh,
Big
it's
Balls, you got
dropped.
that as the screen cap for the episode, I'm sure.
Just juggling
Yep,
hot
that's
dogs.
where
I'm
we
gonna
going.
eat two. So
All right, cool.
Ooh, you beast.
I like how
That's
Odie just
beautiful.
knows our show. He cares so much about our inside jokes that he decided to boil some hot dogs just for us, not for his daughter.
So hey, let's cut the crap here. How do you eat those things?
you guys are gonna make fun of me. My wife's
Oh.
vegetarian, so these are actually like tofurkey dogs.
Oh, Odie!
What a sin.
That's like you're gonna get Montezuma's revenge. That's worse than drinking Mexican tap water.
Yeah. So apparently you boil some water, you throw them in, turn the water or turn the flame off, and you just wait 2 minutes, and they
nice.
just get warm because they're probably made out of plastic or
I was
something.
gonna say, this
so-
probably just turns into a vegetable soup.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it tastes like. I'm not too hopeful, but I am really hungry.
All right.
Yeah.
Sam,
So-
what other questions do you have for Odie?
I guess let's get right into FD car business and all that. What so you are running the S14 again? We confirmed it. I didn't actually know that for certain until you said this right now. I don't follow you on Instagram. I don't look at anything you do. But
I just been misleading everyone into running that car, but
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I am.
But what have you made any changes since the very successful 2017 season?
Yeah, a little bit. So
How
we've
little?
been testing actually already, and I'm trying to make the car even more drivable. I mean, it was fast. It was getting the job done, but trying to make it a little easier to drive so it could be even more consistent. And yeah, that's about it. But the whole point is to learn from all the previous years of running the same car and just keep it simple and concentrate on driving, not building a new car and all that, all that jazz.
So get nerdy with us. What did you change on it if it's not illegal and you're hiding it from Kevin?
YSFAB came out with a new kit, so we threw that on the car, and there's some getting used to it. It works really good. So also messing around with the rear suspension geometry a little bit, just trying to make it not super, super grippy all the time, which is a handful to drive, just making it easier. So a lot of fine tuning and adjusting the stuff that we already had, and then utilizing some new parts that YSFAB threw our way.
And how has the YSFAB kit evolved or changed, and how is it different to drive?
Well, it changed in the way that it promises even more steering angle, which is not necessarily what we all need.
Yeah.
But it's making it so that steering angle is more usable. So meaning that once you go like medium angle to full angle, it doesn't lock up or do anything unpredictable. So it also allows you to run the longer shocks that everyone is kind of needing to run, because we have really smooth tracks like in Orlando and New Jersey, where it basically allows you to utilize long stroke shocks without modifying it or doing anything funky. So a lot of notes taken over the years of people wanting to tweak this and that, and they finally put it in practice. So yeah, it's just a good kit off the shelf to use. We ended up making changes and stuff last season. Now you don't have to make any of those changes. You just bolt the thing on. So easier.
What about, sorry, Sam?
No, I'm just going to just wrap that up by saying, like, you have been, I think, largely successful, of course, due to your skill and everything else, but judging by the fact that you have dialed one car and have gotten very used to that car and are very successful in that car. And I guess Dean is similar in that he's driven an S15 for a while, or Sylvia an S14 in some rendition. But, Freddie's going against new cars all the time. Vaughn changed his engine package, and everyone else in the top 20 essentially has evolved cars numerous times for the most part over the years. But you have stayed incredibly consistent, and I imagine that has been to your aid. Have you received any backlash from sponsors or anyone for staying with the same car? Do they want you in a new car?
Sam, I tried doing the different new car. I drove a Genesis in 2016, and that worked out actually pretty well. And I learned a lot about setting up cars because of that challenge. And surprisingly, sponsors weren't really that thrilled about a different car, a new car. I mean, they were happy, it was cool, but nothing on the broad scheme of things changed. Like, my budget didn't increase like crazy because now I was running a newer chassis. I definitely had talks with Falcon when I first went teal and blue. Hey, are you guys cool with me running the S chassis instead of the Genesis? And they were like, as long as you're competitive, that's all, that really matters. So yeah, to answer your question, no backlash.
And I feel like we've talked to you about this every time that you've been on the show in the past, I think, which is 2 times at least now. But I'm just curious if at this point anyone's like, hey, man, stop it with the S14. I'm not, because S14 is the rule. But I don't know if anyone at this point is wondering why you haven't evolved or moved on.
No, not really. I mean, there's some sponsors that are like, hey, why don't you try something? But no one's really like, hey, we're not going to sponsor you unless you build a new chassis or come drive this specific car. So I love driving. I like working on cars, but I like driving a lot more. So kind of staying with that car for that reason.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
Paco, what was that? I rudely interrupted you saying?
Oh no, I was I guess pretty good, but no, I was saying, what about when talking about changes? What about changes on the body? Come on, Odi, break my heart.
Changes on the body.
Yeah,
changes on the body. That's
changes on the body.
Paco's
well,
new.
Paco, I am using 2F Performance rear quarter panels.
okay.
And I am very excited about the what are you going to call it? The butt cheeks rear bumper.
Yep, we have that.
This is a great marketing move.
Oh yeah.
The buck seat.
Well, yeah, but
there's
Paco,
a special version. Yes.
Okay.
It's Odi's.
But yeah, we're gonna. I'm going a little bit wider on the car. That's part of the suspension changes that Sam, was trying to pry at. I think making the car a little easier to drive is going a little bit wider, a little less side bite. When we're going wider, the wheels aren't going to fit under the 2F Performance rear quarter panels, so we're going to use the 2F Performance quarter panels, but put some over fenders on it. And yeah, so you're going to see some changes to the body of the car. I think next week we'll have some photos of it.
So that's still top secret, I guess.
I think it's not that exciting, so it'll be more exciting to see it in a photo versus me just talking about it. So.
Okay, we'll run away from that one.
All right.
Are you running teal and blue livery, or did JTPP steal your livery and he knocked you down to somewhere?
I'm still running teal and blue livery. So yeah, I guess thanks for bringing that up. I never talked about it, hinted at it, but the car's going to be teal and blue again, which I'm super stoked on.
You heard it here first, folks. Reveal Odi Bakchis livery reveal, teal and blue, never before seen.
Man, that's cool.
Is there gonna be Frenemies season 2?
There's definitely going to be Frenemies, and we're trying our hardest to put more effort into it, more cash into it. I think there's a lot of potential there, and yeah, I'm excited about it. So it should be even better and more entertaining and just more content this season coming up.
So is it going to be just you and Matt, or is JTP going to be a part of this Frenemies thing as well?
No, it's just me and Matt. It's really, we're gonna, I think, put more effort into showing why there's this weird friendly tension between me and Matt. So I think this season we're gonna work a little harder on that storyline. So yeah, I think bringing in random people, it wouldn't work. It would be something that's forged and not,
Well, can I pitch
not real. I'd love to hear your.
I want to pitch something to you. So my pitch to you, Odi, is I know if you want to keep it spicy, what I would do is I'd change the show from the Frenemies to the Bullies, and then you just pick on JTP, you and Matt.
That's a good idea. And then season 1 could end with a triple kiss.
Yeah, you guys do an old-fashioned triple kiss at our
Good old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned, like Grandpap used to make.
I'll see what Donut Media thinks about that story.
All right, cool. Send it on over. Put my name on it. Tell them that I recommend triple kiss with JTPP. And I want it now.
Done deal, I guess.
I want to step back a little bit because I don't think we talked about this that much, and I want you to explain to us how FEAL started, where you started, and then where you're at now from where you originally started. Like, what made you get into this? Why?
How does it feel?
It feels good. Anyway,
and where'd you get the name from?
It started in high school. I rode motorcycles, motocross, and it was a big part of my life. I really liked it. Me and my brother, we rode all the time, trained, went to the racetrack, and the suspension on our bikes sucks. Like in motocross, suspension is the biggest thing. So I wanted to learn how to dial in my own suspension because, I didn't feel like asking my dad for thousands of dollars on getting my suspension done on my race bike every time we buy a new bike or anytime I want it changed. So I asked my dad if I could ditch school for like a week or two to take these seminars on how to dial in suspension, and he was cool enough to say yes, and I did that, and I started messing around with my own suspension on my bike. Then it kind of spiraled into working on all my friends' bikes that we raced together with, and I eventually just did it as a business out of my garage. And then throughout college, I rented a shop because I moved out of my house and couldn't work out of the garage. I lived in a dorm. And then the shop got bigger and bigger. I stopped riding motocross and started dabbling with cars. And that's when I realized, hey, I got all the stuff to work on shocks. Why not work on automotive shocks? And yeah, that's basically where it really started taking off. There's kind of bigger markets, more, I guess, things to do with suspension and automotive applications. And anything I did automotive I put a lot of effort and focus into developing suspension for, rally stuff, then obviously drifting now. And now, I employ a handful of people. It's sold all over the world, which is awesome. And I spend a ton of time still working at this company, aside from spending a bunch of time on my drift program. So yeah, it's right now the company's in Ontario, and we sell through a network of dealers here. We have a distributor in Europe, in the UAE, and it's still growing, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a big part of my life, and that's why I think you don't see me doing as much stuff outside of drifting and FEAL suspension, because I have absolutely no time for anything else in life.
Isn't that interesting? You can go to school for 18 years and then you take a 2-week class and then you have a career.
I still went to college and pursued, a business degree and whatnot, which I think helped a lot because, you talk about it, Corey, all the time. You gotta network, and there's a lot more to it than being a race car driver,
right,
if you want to be a successful race car driver. So
the other thing I wanted to ask you too was, I would say in the past 3 years, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, it seems like FEAL has really had its largest growth. And I say that just because of I don't know if it's the marketing efforts, but it's the amount of people talking about it. How has the past few years been for you in the company?
Yeah, I think you're pretty right on that. And it's been, I think, just work paying off,
Well, okay, and that brings up my other point too. Is you've been partnering up with a lot of drivers in the past 3 years, and then obviously with the past year, you've been working really closely with WiseFab, and the drivers of WiseFab, right? So Peter, Dean, a bunch of dudes in Europe. Now you got a lot of FD dudes. You got some Pro 2 dudes on your equipment. How's that helped you, or how has that pushed your brand? Because you got a lot of these drivers that go after sponsors and things like that. But being a sponsor now involved in the sport, either on your car and others people's cars, how's that helped your company, or what have these drivers done that's really pushed you to grow that much in the past 2-3 years?
Well, it definitely helps from a marketing standpoint. Formula Drift and drifting in general is it is an amazing outlet for companies like me to actually gain customers, because, to be honest, majority of my customers aren't drift enthusiasts. But there's, for instance, all my Subaru customers, I still get emails and calls from them saying, hey, great job last round. And I would not expect a Subaru customer sometimes to watch live stream of a Formula Drift event. But what I'm trying to get at is, a lot of people watch drifting, even though if they're not who you would think is a drift enthusiast. So that at my company is very clear, because we get feedback all the time from non-drift endemic customers. But definitely working with drifters has increased our drifting sales, like all the kits that we sell to drift specific customers, that's gone up tremendously. And I think most importantly, working with guys like James Dean and Peter, they push us to develop our product more and more. These guys are good, and I'm putting my name on all the product that I'm putting on their car. So if I got to make sure they're happy, and it's always pushing me to make a better product. And that's why I have so much fun doing it. And that's, I think partially why you're seeing the growth of the company, and, guys willingly go out of their way to put their product on our car, because, they see it work, and they talk to other drivers, and it spreads like a virus. Like, hey, it works, try it. And then they see the results. And, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with a lot of really cool drivers. And yeah, teaming up with WiseFab kind of definitely opened up the door to the whole European market, and these European dudes are coming over here and doing pretty well currently.
So you're saying we have an opportunity to screw with James Dean here? So he trusts you, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
he does.
his weakness. Yeah. So I think that we, Odi, as blue-blooded Americans, we need to get together. We need to figure out a way to stop him from winning.
Uh-huh.
So I say that we dial in some real wank suspension settings. And
Sam, can you tell us what
Sam,
what,
we
what
already
changes you
built
would
the
make?
shocks for 2018. You lost your chance. Sorry.
2019 then.
Well, let me.
2019,
I do want to ask
our
Sam
year.
this. I do want to ask Sam this because we know Sam is a suspension guru. You know,
Yes.
Sam was going to start his own suspension company before he got into podcasting.
Yeah,
So-
it's
Seal-
called
Seal
Touch
Performance.
Suspension touch.
It was actually going to be called the Wet Noodle suspension components. But Sam, what would you do if you had to sabotage James's suspension? How would you change it, and what devices would you use?
I would change the suspension fluid, which is what you call it, I'm sure,
Yeah. Yep.
to cottage cheese.
Okay.
So that way, every time he hits a bump, it would come shooting out of a strut tower.
Uh-huh.
And just like people have wastegate exhaust vents in their hood, he'd have cottage cheese vents over
That's
his
clever.
strut
Yeah.
towers.
That's pretty
And it
clever.
would just gross everyone out.
Uh-huh.
He would lose. America would be number one. Vaughn, Odi, and JTPP could be on the top of the podium, all first place.
There you go.
And then three-way
Singing,
kissing each other.
singing "We Are the Champions." Pat Gooden comes back for a day.
Yep.
He's on top two.
Uh-huh.
June, not American-ish, comes on. He jumps on their shoulders. He takes the trophy.
Ooh.
They shut down the season after Long Beach because everyone wins, and it's the end.
This,
So-
this episode slowly turned into fan fiction.
Well, and there's a four-way tie for first, so nobody, there's no real champion.
James Dean rubs his eyes, his tears away with some four-leaf clovers. He goes back to his country and stops beating all of us. The
Yeah.
end.
yeah.
Um,
But you know who's the real winner here?
who?
The audience.
The audience.
The
Well,
I'd say
fans.
Odi's still the real winner because he's still selling all of his suspension.
Yeah, Odie's making
true.
more money than all of us, so he's the real winner. Speaking of which, Odie, who's on your roster for this year in Formula Drift? That looks like a
Sorry.
delicious hot
He's
dog.
eating- he's
No,
eating-
it's
he's-
just-
he's-
He's
we're
got
just
a mouthful of hot dog. He can't answer.
Veggie dog.
James Dean, Peter, Vicek. There's a Lithuanian driver coming to FD.
Uh-oh.
Another one. Yeah.
Another one.
What's his
another-
name? What's his name? What's his
Christoph
name? What's his
Sneakin.
name? What's his name?
So his name is Andrus Vasiliauskas. It's easy. You guys can do it.
Andrus Voskanalskas.
Wow, Corey. That's perfect.
That's pretty close.
Is he a buddy of yours? Like you know him?
I don't know him at all, but
Huh.
I'm helping him out with suspension.
Nice.
So,
Well, that's
Yeah.
fellow countrymen holding it together.
Yep. What are the
So wait, who is, just so we have it on record, who is everyone you help out with suspension? You help out a lot of Pro 1 drifters.
Yeah,
or
that's what he
in
was
Pro 2, I
mentioning.
guess.
So
Who's everyone you help out?
He got halfway through the list, and then he ended with Andreas Valuskis.
honestly, for Pro 1, we're kind of cutting it off there.
Really?
No Pro 2 help?
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't heard anyone in Pro 2 asking for like a refresh or a spare kit or anything like that. So we had guys running it last season.
They're loving it.
It's been quiet from Pro 2, honestly. I hope they're getting their stuff together. We might hear from them right before their first round.
Yeah, as most typical drifters work in that fashion, wait for the last minute.
But you have James Dean, you have Peter Wiechek, you have, say his name, Andre.
Andrus. It's basically, it translates to Andrew. Like Peter is not Peter. It's like
Piotr.
Yeah.
Piotr.
It's Thorbjorn.
Yeah.
And then, but good Overwatch ref Corey. But Kristaps, does he run FEAL?
Not this season. So, and last season he didn't even run it technically. He's sponsored by someone else. So
Who?
He got burned by.
I don't even want to talk about that. But he
Gotcha.
at one point had our shocks, but he's not supposed to.
Do you think you could take out Kristaps? Do you think you can take him out if you wanted to?
What's that? Can I take out Kristaps?
Yeah.
If
In a
I
fist
wanted to,
fight.
is that?
In a fist fight. In a fight, yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. He's
Odie's all muscle.
you'd have
dude.
to move really fast. He's
Good point.
Definitely.
And you're a pretty fast
Being
guy
like
though too,
the
right?
heavyweight, I'd be in a lightweight. It'd be we're really awkwardly match fight.
Odie's like Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
You know, like extremely muscular but pretty agile.
Yeah, he's more of a Pat
Thank you,
Sajak.
Paco.
Who?
A Pat Sajak? You don't know the guy, the host of Wheel of Fortune? Paco doesn't even know what Wheel of
Dumbfolded.
Fortune is. Paco doesn't even know what Wheel of Fortune is. Do you do any work with people in Pro-Am, or do you contribute any Pro-Am series or anything like that to develop drivers? Sam, this question's for Sam as ODC.
I'm not a driver though.
Sam, so what do you do contribute to Pro-Am, Sam? And then same question to Odi when you're done.
I contribute to Pro-Am with my build, my physique, my hydration.
Hydration is very important.
I hydrate all the drivers that need water.
Yep.
I'll be there at your next Pro-Am event. Just look for me. I'll have the canteen. It's an old World War II style canteen. I'll be dumping it through your window when you're ready. Just let me know.
Is it water boy?
Well, you're a huge contributor, Sam, to the Pro-Am series. Now, Odi, what about you, buddy? What do you do for the Pro-Am series?
Yeah. So for Pro-Am, we do support drivers. We actually had a good event. So out here on the West Coast, we had our first Pro-Am event. It was at Top Drift at Willow Springs, and I think Dominic Martinez won it. He's on our suspension, and then Rome was also on the podium. He's on our suspension. So we try to help out guys that don't necessarily win either, because everyone needs to start somewhere. So I like Pro-Am a lot, and we do what we can.
So Corey could totally get some field suspension.
What's that for?
Because you don't win.
He said he likes to help out guys that don't win.
Yeah.
Corey's gonna win this entire season.
I'm gonna go defeated this whole year.
Defeated?
Yeah.
Corey Osborne defeated 3
I went
times.
I went all 4 rounds defeated.
I think, but in order for you to get defeated, you have to qualify first.
Doesn't matter. No, doesn't. No,
you can be defeated by qualifying,
You can defeat yourself.
Defeat
Paco.
yourself.
Come on. First person to judge is always Paco.
It's always me. I'm the hater.
Always Paco. I have a question, Odi. This is also a good way to preface. So we've talked about the rule changes or new things for 2018 a couple times on the show, and our Drift Dad friends at Formula Drift kindly reminded us that just because it has been mentioned by Kevin or them on the show doesn't mean that it necessarily is in concrete for the 2018 season. So there are still changes that are going to be made up until the first round. So anything we talk about could be modified before then. All that being said, Odi, how would you feel about one set of tires for qualifying and the other rules, such as only 12 runs and what have you?
The qualifying deal, one set of tires wouldn't be good, because we try to put on a really, really good show. That means we set up our cars to be a little looser, which means tire wear is through the roof. So you'd see the runs be a lot more conservative if we only had one set of tires, to answer your question.
Because you're using 60-70% of a set during one run. Let's say, let's use Irwindale as an example. Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's tracks where you could run through 80% of the tire in one run.
In a qualifying run, which obviously you're not going to do during tandem battles, but when you're just showing off your most smoke, most angle, most throttle in a qualifying run, you're going to
Yeah. And qualifying to fans is probably the most boring part of our sport. So why not keep it as entertaining as possible? That's kind of, my opinion on that. But
so you believe? I was just going to ask you. So you believe qualifying is going to get even more boring?
If you limit, tire consumption for qualifying, for sure.
And how do you feel about limiting tire consumption for practice to, I believe it's 12 runs?
12 laps.
Correct me?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's going to play havoc on guys that might need a lot of runs to sort out their car before, so it's going to push people, I think, to do a lot more testing in between Formula Drift. I think a lot of teams rely on that Thursday practice or even Friday to basically run their car. A lot of teams don't get to run in between rounds because, we got drivers from all over the world that fly in just for the event. So it'll probably end up costing more money to stay successful as a team, because you're going to have to put in that seat time somewhere. So be outside of the event.
I was talking to Forsberg, I believe, about it the other day at the shop, and I was saying how the rule definitely makes sense for teams that don't have unlimited tires to not be at a disadvantage. But then he, of course, said what you just said, and that it might be the opposite, because now teams are going to have to hire that extra guy or spend that extra money to develop their cars to be more ready now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, ultimately, I would expect to have as much seat time, in my car. So I feel like I would have to run an extra test day before the event or whatever. So, yeah, I could be more ready, you know, and I feel like some of the teams that want to win really, really bad and have, you know, the ability to set budget aside for extra testing before the event, they're going to do it. So it might actually make a bigger gap between, like, you know, the lower budget team and the higher budget team. So
how many runs would you typically do pre-qualifying anyways? Would you hit 12 on most events, would you think?
Oh, let's work backwards. I think I get 5 runs an hour. So there's no way you could just keep running.
Yeah.
Yeah. That rule would, I think, in many cases, limit how many runs I'd get. I feel like I'm one of those drivers that runs the most.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would hinder it for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like I see you a lot out there. I obviously see Vaughn and those guys out there. But there's also some drivers that I feel like kind of do like 4 runs and are done. So I wonder if those guys have a more general tune and they just run the same map or the same setup almost every round and are good, or if they just found their setup fast. What kind of what's your process? Do you start with a base map? I guess you can reuse your old data from previous years when you go to new rounds, but do you just kind of run with a generic setup for your car in the middle and then you adjust to conditions and track, or how do you adjust your car without giving away your secrets?
Yeah, we always start with a fairly easy to drive setup, and it's basically the same setup for every single track. And then depending on how well I'm executing the track, we start to make the car, you know, faster, and we try setups that, you know, are super, super grippy here and there, because you never know who you're going to have to run against in competition. So bottom line is, yeah, we always start out with like a baseline at every track that happens to be pretty much the same baseline.
And are you changing gearing? Are you changing sway bar? What are you changing as you adjust tracks, or tire pressure, obviously?
Gearing is one of those things that I try to have like predetermined before I get to the track, especially when you come back to the same track. But from there on, we look at tire wear, and we might have to change camber in the car to make sure we're getting even tire wear, because it's such a challenge to get 2 runs out of tires. Mm-hmm. And then the majority of the emphasis, honestly, for my team is just finding the right tire pressures for the right situation. So we always run practice. We dedicate X amount of runs as like, hey, let's practice chase setup with chasing a slow car. Let's run like a loose setup, and then we practice. Let's, you know, pretend we're going to chase a really fast car, and even though we're doing solo runs, we're throwing these types of setups. We basically have a rundown of, let's try this setup, that one, this one, that one, and we just go down the list. And honestly, that's how we cook so many tires. We're trying not to aimlessly just run laps, you know, for nothing.
Just put a lot of pressure on your tires. Your tires will last forever.
Yeah, it's true, Paco.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Paco is an engineer.
Yeah. Or if you go too low, just put glue on them.
Yeah, I mean, why don't you save a bunch of money each round? Just inflate your tires to like 90 psi. That way you won't use any.
And you can also have only like 200 horsepower, and the car will drift the same.
Well, that's what Odi's actually telling everyone this season, is that his car only makes 200, and we're going to see how they act.
Yep.
Speaking of horsepower, Corey, you have a piece of fiberglass sitting up there. Can you show it to the camera real quick? Uh-oh.
Corey's like asleep with his eyes open.
No, he was looking at your hot dog dinner and just going into a daze. His eyes started glazing over.
Oh, it's
yeah, there it is.
Wait, one second. There's a little webcam refreshment going on. 1 second.
For the audio-only listeners, I like to, of course, as always, describe what's going on in the video portion for you. Odi just took a enormous bite of a hot dog. It looked like it was a single bite. The entire thing went down his throat. He didn't chew once. It just went straight to his stomach. It was disgusting and beautiful, and I love it. Sponsors love it.
Well, but now, what was that, Corey?
That was that looks like a piece off of actually Odi. What is this?
Yeah, what is that? Odi. He's got a
That looks
mouthful.
like a piece of my bumper from 2015, I believe.
What the sticker says, Corey?
And the sticker says
And the
1,000
sticker-
horsepower. ... That's an ellipsis. Is that an ellipsis?
No.
No. What do we call that?
Triple colon.
Triple dot. Triple
Something
dot.
like
LOL.
LOL. Can you explain us that?
Yeah. What does that mean, Odi?
So there's a lot of pressure, I think, at a certain point in FD to raise your horsepower, get up to 1,000 horsepower or so. And a lot of drivers were doing it. And I didn't want to do it. So
Nice.
I decided to make fun of it and put 1,000 horsepower LOL on my back bumper.
How much were you making?
Yeah. I had 650 to the wheels, and then I had a tune that was up to 700 to the wheels if the bottle pressure in my nitrous bottle was just right, spot on.
So
we were
this
able
was
to squeeze out 700.
650 and 700 with nitrous.
Yep.
But everyone consistently, every driver that we talk to on this show, and we talk about cars and speed and perceived speed versus horsepower and setup and all that deep thought that we get into, they always say that you're one of the fastest.
The car was actually really, really fast that season. I had no problems with speed with that car, which I always think about that season and how much I liked the car. It was a little difficult to drive because I had to run very low wheel speed. So meaning that it would have a tendency to straighten up sometimes randomly because the rear wheels weren't spinning as fast as what a lot of other cars are spinning them at. So you have to really drive like kind of carefully because if you make a mistake, the car might snap back the other way. But it was genuinely a lot of fun to drive the car because you could literally just keep it floored the whole time. And it was just a blast. And
what is...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish up. You're good.
I was going to say, I honestly don't enjoy driving my car with as much power as it has now. It worries me that the drivetrain is always on the ragged edge. We went through 2 ring and pinion gears last season because we have to run a lot of power to utilize the 295 tire, which is extremely grippy. It is playing havoc on the drivetrain. And I have to add a bunch of weight to my car to utilize that tire. So, I mean, I honestly hate the setup, but it is fast. And I do want to try some stuff with my demo car, make it as light as possible and run a really small tire and run telemetry data on it and see, in fact, if I could go back to a lighter weight, less powerful setup.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of drivers are doing that, and everyone says they don't like it. Is doing the heavier car or wider tire. I'm curious to see what you'll get from the data on lighter car, thinner tire.
Guys have tried it diligently. I feel like I've seen it when the weight to tire rule was kind of initiated. Guys were putting weight ballast in their car during testing and running the big tire, then pulling the weight ballast, putting the smaller tire, and the consensus was the bigger tire with more weight is faster, but maybe there's a way to do it. So
and that all requires, it's all more stress on the engine, more stress on the drivetrain.
Exactly. It's the amount of wear these parts take with that much weight, that much power, and that much grip is insane. So would be great to find that balance with a lighter weight, less powerful car. So
Corey?
For sure.
Yeah, I want to go back to the single tire for the 2 qualifying passes real quick. I know it kind of got off topic, but I want to go back to that. The whole idea that Kevin mentioned to changing the rule is they want to try to get drivers to be using a similar setup in qualifying as they are in competition. And for people that don't know, Odi's wife Amy is a spotter. Do you feel that your wife collects data mostly through qualifying or practice and then qualifying and supplies you with that data? And do you believe that by running one set, you're actually going to be running more of a similar setup that you're going to be running in tandem? And do you think that's going to be useful information versus running a little different setup in qualifying than you are in tandem?
honestly, there's so much data to collect during practice. Amy looks at practice and qualifying, and that qualifying data, it works okay when you have to analyze it for tandem competition, but you can't put that much emphasis on qualifying data because the cars are set up differently. There's some drivers, honestly, that, and I honestly don't remember off the top of my head right now which ones they are, but their qualifying runs, as far as like ETs and driving style, it didn't really change. So there's some drivers that change and some do not. So some already run willingly or unwillingly a similar setup as to what they run in tandem, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see how much that's going to play into effect with that change, and if people are actually pulling data from practice and qualifying to give their drivers that type of information, or is it really going to be pulling data off of that? Because as you were mentioning, you're changing quite a few things through practice. And then basically, if your spotter was giving you information based on those practice runs, and then they get into a qualifying and now they're running a more similar setup, it feels like some of that data would be almost useless. But I don't know. It just seems like for that purpose of running a similar setup, I don't think, after talking to you, I don't think it makes a difference if you run one or two sets. Obviously, two sets would be better because it's a better show. But outside of that, it's just you're going to collect the same data essentially.
Yeah, and I like the fact that tandem setup is different from qualifying setup. It adds like a cool technical aspect to the sport. I think it's just cool. Like it's, especially if that's educated to the fans, as well. And honestly, I think qualifying is as exciting as it is right now, only because we get to fry those tires without any concern about being able to make a second run.
Well, isn't that the whole point of qualifying, is to perform and do what you believe is the absolute best run?
Yeah, and I do enjoy that a lot about qualifying. So it might personally make it even more stressful and maybe not as enjoyable to know that, hey, I have to be more conservative because I have to literally conserve tires when I go out and do my solo run,
Yeah, because I was
that is sorry, Corey, real quick. That is one of the coolest parts about qualifying that I forget about is just that it is a display with no other
limitations.
Elements. Yeah, it's like even you could argue that a lead run is that same thing too, but it's not, because you're still saving tires for the second half of the battle. This is a car, it is a driver, and it is an entire set of rear tires to do everything you damn well please and can at a track to look and be the most badass driver out there. And that's what is probably the most redeeming part of qualifying, is that it is just as one driver putting every single thing they have on the line in their car dialed to 100% to put down one run, and that's what's cool about it.
Right, and that's exactly what I was saying. Sam was like, this is your opportunity to lay your dinger on the track and do one or two big ballsy runs, because that's your opportunity to showcase. I don't know if it's how dominant you are, but how precise you are, and show commitment. And now if you're having to wind your car down a little bit, I think that show is going to be a little bit different. And
so yes, it is more accurate to what your tandem run will be if you are concerned about one set of tires for both runs, but it is definitely less exciting.
So here's the other thing. I've been so busy, I haven't thought about this kind of stuff in the for as far as sporting regulations are concerned. But when you do a tandem or a qualifying run, it's not back to back. So meaning you do your first qualifying run, there's a ton of time that passes by until you do your second qualifying run. So here's the issue: if you run on the same tires, you have to warm up those tires for your second qualifying run. Usually a warm-up routine to get the tires up to temperature requires, 4 or so figure 8 massive burnouts. So in order to get your tires up to temp a second time, you literally, I don't know if it's even possible to make a second run, to be honest.
Yeah.
We can't even warm up our tires sometimes to the extent that is necessary for a tandem run, knowing that we have to do 2 runs. So I think that from a technical standpoint, that could be a huge issue to make 2 runs happen when you have to warm them up twice.
And I know this sounds insane, and we joked about it on an episode a while ago, but it's something that I'm honestly wanting to at least thought experiment. What about, let's go the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's say that you have 10 seconds to make a tire change after each end of the tandem battle. So you do your one half, you lead, and then someone else is chasing. And then you have 10 seconds to change tires, and you NASCAR style change. And then you both have fresh tires for the second half. How would you feel if a rule like that was implemented?
Yeah, that opens up the can of worms. Hold on a second, Sam.
Yeah,
What's
what's
up?
Adrinna doing? Let's get her back on here.
What?
Can you go party?
Okay. Okay, go for it. Okay. Hold that thought right
Yeah,
there,
Adrinna's
Sam.
gonna go potty. Sure, we
Daddy
got this
duty,
covered.
just 1 second.
Daddy duties.
Daddy's gonna take a duty. So what's happening right now? I'm gonna do a little bit of narration for the audience here.
For the people who's not watching, Odi
Yeah,
is
so
actually
Odi
in the
was just
bathroom now.
called away because he's an expert at bathroom. Okay, Odi's back.
Okay.
Oh, that was
Okay.
quick.
That's what I said. He's an expert.
Anyway, so the problem there, Sam, that's a cool idea, but the whole point is in between tandem battles, we don't change the setup of the car, because that will throw off the competitor. Now it's not just driving ability. Now you're throwing crazy extreme car changes potentially by changing or altering the tire pressure when you change
Right.
the tire. So
But what if you guarantee that the pressures are the same? I've thought about that aspect too. Is that you throw on a radically
thought of
different
everything.
But no, but I mean that's the only thing you could change though. Is that let's say that they make sure that your wheels that you have, and this is all just deep thought. I'm not saying this is a practical thing that can be done or should be done, but let's just say that there is Kevin standing there with his tape measure and his tire gauge, and he's checking to make sure that they're the exact same as your first set of tires.
So if we had all this figured out and it would work seamlessly, the other thing that I would not be super stoked on is now it takes kind of the technical element out of making your tires last for a tandem battle. It takes a lot of effort to do that and yet make an impressive run. So I kind of
Does that
enjoy
make
that
the sport-
aspect of it.
Does that make the sport as cool as it can be though? Is the sport cooler if you guys are pouring in 80% of a set of tires per run?
Well, from a spectator standpoint, it would probably be more aesthetically pleasing if we had a set of tires to burn in one run, just like we talked about qualifying.
Yeah.
So you got a good point there. But it would take that cool technical element out of making the car work for tandem. And it's something about getting off the line and then turning right back to the start line and going again. I feel like that's, a part of the fun is just
That's why I say you get 10 seconds to change your tires. We're talking like at this point, like what are they called? This is the single hub, the single.
I know what you're talking about. Just zap the wheel off.
Yeah, so you guys have the IndyCar Formula One style wheel zap, and you have to have. Of course, this requires a bigger crew. This requires more money, more tires, everything. But it's just a thought. Like, is that the next level that we see in 10 years? Do we see tire changes so we can get faster? Like, how do we get faster and get better from here? Because right now, the limiting factor is tires.
Yeah, I think it could make it for a more aesthetically pleasing deal, but there's the ugly matter that we burn so many tires to begin with, so you gotta take that into consideration also.
But they go into the sky and they turn into stars. That's where the tire smoke goes, and that makes everyone happy.
They're turning to vape.
Right.
I know
Everyone
science
loves
is
them.
cool.
Actually, somebody on the comments is mentioning tire blankets. But I don't think those things get that hot, right? Like they just kind of like
They
keep
get
them
hot.
They can get that hot enough to have.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a good alternative?
To what?
Just to
making tires last longer.
keep
because you don't have
tires.
to do
Yeah, you don't
warm-ups.
have to do the warm up burnouts.
Well, I don't think the warm up. The purpose of the burnout is to burn off the mold release of the tire,
It's
and
more
also
just to get them like gooey. Then.
well, no, to get the mold, because obviously when you make a tire, they put a mold release in there. So when you pull the tire part out of the mold, that it releases if you don't use the compound on the outside of the tire. So that's why that tire has that shine on it. And so what you do is you do a burnout to burn off that mold release, and then also at the same time it's going to be generating heat into the tire.
But if you have that,
But if you
tire
put a tire
blanket-
warmer, then you're not burning off the mold release.
Well, but you
right?
just do like a quick like Sam said, just like just a little quick burning just to get rid of that. And
Something I thought of when you were mentioning that, Corey, is that burning off that tire mold is when the tire is brand new, hasn't been burned out at all before yet. So you do that first initial burnout, you do your first qualifying run, and then you're sitting waiting. So that initial burnout's already done, but you just need to reheat the tires. Would the tire heaters come benefit then, since you can't change tires?
It might be better for the second run because you're not going to have to burn the tires up again.
it just adds up to the cost of running.
I don't think they're that expensive, to be honest with you. I don't think they're too terribly bad. I just think there's so many variables that come into play. You know, somebody runs, you roll up to grid and pre-staging, dude has an issue. Now you're sitting on now it's like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of variables that play into that.
It almost sounds like somebody would try the heating blankets.
I don't think it's against the rules to have heater blankets, right?
No.
We'll see. We'll see if Odi is the first one. $1 million idea right here for free for Odi.
I feel like I don't think we could use tire
I don't
warmers.
think you can, dudes. I think that people would have done that by now.
Yeah. So, there's argument to let us use it for the front tires because it's a safety hazard to go out on cold front tires. But we found a way to warm them up. That's why we do funky like front
Figure
tire
eight.
scrubbing.
Yeah, weird
making our cars look like absolute turds and they push all over the place. We purposely drive them in a manner like that to warm up our front tires. So
you wonder why this guy's doing a real dorky figure eight in the burnout box.
I always wonder how many fans are staring at my car, watching it push like crazy, and they're like,
"Look at that understeer. He doesn't know how to slide." Yeah,
these damn drift cars, they understeer. Awful setups.
Yeah.
Well, here
that's what those well-natured fans say.
All right, so we're okay. Setup. You mentioned the word setup, and this is the other question I was going to ask you. No more front brake light. You are the king of left foot braking.
Yeah,
and I would like to call you that. And ever since I've been watching you, I was really blown away with how you use the brake to drive the car.
He's the king, the queen, and the princess.
Oh my god,
of left foot braking.
What's
all of them?
Because you've been doing it for a long time. Actually, you've been left foot braking for quite some time. I think I can even remember back to your first year. You really utilizing that left foot brake to drive the car. What is the purpose on why and how you do it, and what's the advantage?
Yeah.
You know, kind of break that down to us, and why you've been using it so long, and then finally now you see a lot of the people in the field using it when you were kind of like one of the first dudes that were actually using that over the handbrake.
Yeah, I think having a lower horsepower car kind of makes you have to use it a lot more, but then it became a habit, and you use it a lot more. My daughter's screaming for me. Did you hear that, Sam? I got to handle daddy duty real quick.
Go to daddy duty.
So Sam, I'm going to ask you that question. Same question I asked Odi. How would you answer that?
Yeah, go. What's the question again?
So why do you utilize the left foot braking so much, and what's the advantage of using it?
Well, for me, what I like to do is I like to left foot brake because my right foot's connected to the Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville mixer. So what happens is my car is already making margaritas for after I lose. Because, the first thing you want when you lose is a margarita. So my right foot isn't on the accelerator. Sometimes you got to get off the accelerator. I've got a pedal for my Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville maker.
Okay.
And that pedal is between my clutch pedal, my brake pedal, and my gas pedal. That's right. It's below all three.
Okay.
And I can't do everything at once, of course. But I want to make sure those margs are smooth.
Yep.
The ice is all chopped up.
Yep.
And of course I'm using Cadillac. It's a Cadillac margarita. I'm using Patron. I'm not using Swaza. I'm not that kind of guy, guys.
Right. No, that's true.
Don't be gross. Don't be gross. I'm gonna use Triple Sec name brand.
Okay, so after all that drinking, Sam, then what do you do if you have to use the restroom and you're in line for practice?
Funny you should ask that, Big Boss. I have a pee to water recirculator that's called a hose from my penis to my mouth. And what that does is it just recirculates the urine.
It keeps you
back into my
hydrated.
body.
So you're more. I would consider you kind of the Kevin Costner of the modern drift world.
I would say, yeah, something like Waterworld / Postman /
water sports.
Yeah, so it's really, to be honest, it's really amazing why I haven't won a Formula Drift Championship yet. But let's just say that I'm on the roster and things are looking up for me.
Nice.
Rosterfarian.
How about a bit of a more serious response for that left foot braking?
Go ahead, Paco.
Yeah. So I mean, the reason why I left foot brake is because, as all of you guys know, my pro drift car is a Chevy El Camino with an automatic transmission.
Okay.
Right.
And obviously, you know, it's 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake. Is
One
that
foot in the
simple?
grave.
Yep, there you go.
All right, looks like Odi signed up. He's done with us. Cool.
Well, it was very nice to see you guys. And
Man, that must have been a big poop. I never had to get off the phone for a poop, but that must have been a big one. Sam, so you never really finished. Sam, you never really finished the margarita story.
Yeah.
oh,
What else do you want on there?
You blend up the margarita because it's underneath your brake foot.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You complete the run. You have a delicious margarita. Then what?
Complete that. Well, I usually start up the margarita before I finish the run, already expecting to lose the battle. So I'll start the margarita, usually the last corner or so.
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, we were just talking about poop
and margaritas.
and margaritas.
Yeah. So apparently my computer died because the battery's low, but I got my phone working. So
And we can hear like some kind of like heartbeat.
Yeah, Odi, why don't you hang that up and restart your computer, and I'll call you back in 5.
I don't have a starter or a charger for my computer, so with the
Odi,
yeah, hold on.
what are you doing?
It's ruining the show.
He can dial
Doesn't
in
he have
suspension, but he
it's
can't
almost
operate
like
an iPhone.
It's almost like he has other priorities other than our show. It's like, oh, I've got a daughter. Oh, I've got to build my car.
Odie's like a real dad. You know, it's like a real dad. He probably still uses a flip phone. He probably still wears like those gladiator jean shorts,
got
gladiators,
that
sandals with
wrist-
socks.
He's got that button on his wrist in case he falls down.
Life
Yeah,
alert.
Kick it up. Yeah, a life alert.
That would be a good primary sponsor for Odie's, running a life alert sticker on the door.
Yeah.
Or what's that other thing that the older people use to get up the stairs? You just sit on it and it scoots you up.
This is the chair escalator.
The chair
Oh,
escalator.
the go-kart.
That's good. Yeah, sure.
I would get one. You have stairs at your studio. You can run a chair escalator.
I should totally get a chair escalator for you.
It's only like 5 steps, but you just sit on the chair and it takes kind of a couple minutes to get up.
Look, these thighs are my money makers. I can't work them out too hard. If I work out my thighs too much or my buns, I'm gonna lose my modeling contracts. I can't have that.
Sam, what are you gonna wear to Long Beach?
I'm gonna wear Paco's skin. Hey, Odie's back.
Hey, nice.
Oh, and
Welcome back, Odie.
And that weird sound still.
Let's see what happens.
I had to use my phone because my computer died and I left the charger at work. So
Odie, there's a very awful noise coming through.
yeah, hold on, let me try that.
That was very awful.
Yeah, and then he just farted right in the microphone.
There you go.
Whatever you did, fix it. Oh,
Nope, can't hear you.
Without
Yeah, I got you.
That's
We got
fine.
you.
all right, we got you now. All right, before your daughter sets the house on fire, or you have to make a number 2, Odie, let's get to the Instagram questions because I'd hate to
Hold
lose
on.
you prematurely before that. All right, Odie's got to make a 2. Hold on.
Is Odie the dad of drifting?
Yeah.
He is the dad of drifting, isn't he?
It's between he and Michael Essa.
Yeah, those two are the dads of drifting
Yep.
for sure. There's the
Oh, the
heartbeat.
noise back.
There's
Sick.
yeah. It literally sounds like a heartbeat. I think Odie is very excited.
Odie's very nervous. That's his heartbeat. All right, it's gone for now.
Okay.
I don't know. I think these the speaker jack on my phone's kind of screwed
It's
up.
all good.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it's all good right now. Whatever you're doing right now, it works. Big Balls, how are his levels? Is he loud enough? Have you
Yeah,
raised
he's
his
good.
volume?
He's good. Go ahead with the Instagrams.
All right, let's do those grams, guys. Have you guys pulled them up yet?
I have one right here, ready to go, hot and sweaty from Macho Man Randy Sanchez.
Oh yeah.
Odi, what is the most effective form of birth control?
Oh boy.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
Mountain Dew.
good,
That yellow five, dude, yellow five.
good
We all know
question.
that.
That's a great answer, Odi. Dr. Odi,
Yeah.
the dad of Drift. Here's one filmed by Taylor. What happened against Dean in Irwindale?
That's when I crashed into him.
Yep.
Yeah, I was really excited because I've been wanting to battle him the whole season. And when I had my chance, I followed him really, really close and it just went really hot.
It's the only way to follow that guy.
Hey, last round. Yeah, it was a good time.
Hey,
You gotta lay it all out. And hold on real quick. I asked JTPP this, and I'm gonna continually ask every driver that isn't James Dean this. How do you beat James Dean? Like, and getting ready with your setup if you want to, but like, you could just say, "Oh, I give it my everything," which is what JTPP said. But it's like, how do you beat James Dean? What do you do to put it all out there and beat him?
Follow him in practice a few times if you get a chance, and then I think you got a good shot.
Just have to follow him in practice. That's
Well, the reason I say that is he puts the car in all the right places, and sometimes it's hard. Like his driving style is a little bit different than other drivers, so it helps if you follow him in practice. Yeah, that's all I could say. I mean,
you're to hear other from the
he's
drift
a
drivers.
solid driver, so
Yeah.
the only way to beat a solid driver is seat time with that driver.
right.
Arguably the
Unfortunately,
best.
you know, that's-
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, you heard it. Now everyone is gonna be lining up next to Dean in practice. Now thanks to Odie's cheat code here.
yeah. I got a question for you from Wonky Donkey 33. He wants to know, what were you thinking when you let Chelsea Denofa borrow your 240 at Irwindale?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Good question. Yeah.
You know, I honestly thought, hey, this guy just needs to borrow a car, rent a car, just to squeeze by through qualifying and play it super conservative because it's the last round. And he's a great dude. He's a super friendly guy. And I kind of forgot that he smashes the shit out of cars right then and then. So I was just trying to be a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
You are the nicest.
You're the nicest.
You heard it first from the data
He
drift, Odi
defiled my
Bakchis.
car, though.
He defiled. Oh my god.
Hey,
It was sad, and I was trying not to. I refused to look at the footage of him wrecking my car until I was done competing at that round.
Oh.
People were trying to shove phones in my face. Hey, you want to see how it happened? You want to see it?
You're like,
You
nope.
want to see the crash? I was like, no, like I don't want to see it.
How bad was the car?
Is he made right by it though?
Yeah, he's up front and stood by, helping me get that thing back in order. So yeah.
All right, good.
What was all broken on it?
Everything.
Front subframe, rear subframe.
Soul, spirit,
everything that bolts onto the chassis,
the doors
on the passenger side. Yeah, it was pretty wrecked. So.
Wow.
Did he try to give you his BMW, his E36 in payment?
No.
You would have ended up with the same car pretty much.
Yeah.
I have a question from Grape Ape. He says, Pop-Tarts or toaster straddles? Nah, we already talked about birth control. Let's go to another one. Max Frolic.
Paco, good. That's a joke from Paco.
Max Frolic, what is one thing you would like to improve in your program that you haven't been able to? Or what would be the next chassis you would like to build if you could?
Well, that's two questions, but no problem at all.
I mean...
I'd like to improve. I feel like I already get a lot of this, but I'd like to do more testing in between rounds and before the season. I'd like to have a setup program where I'm ready to test like in January and just go through a bunch of testing instead of working on my freaking car January, February, and into March. So that would be what is that I want to improve. And then if I had to build another car, oh man, there's a lot of
S13
cool cars
hatchback.
to build. Yeah, S13 now, no S13s. Yeah, I've kind of always liked the E90 chassis. I think there's some weird, funky things going on in the rear suspension, but like a 4-door E90 would be kind of cool.
4-door Beamer.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to my original question I asked you before you had to go do dad duties. Left foot braking.
That's right.
Give us the lowdown.
Wait, Corey, who's asking this question? Isn't there
this is
someone from Instagram?
Yeah, this is Whistling Sphincter 3.
Of course it is.
No?
Give us your whole left foot braking analogy, theory, why, how, when, and
Whole
why is it?
shebang.
Right. Well, there's many things you could do with it. The most common thing that left foot braking does is when you push on the brake while you're on throttle, it will make your car go wider. So you can push it out further to the walls. That's usually pretty noticeable, and it doesn't look very good when you do that. It slows down the car sometimes too much. And then the other form of left foot braking is to just keeping the front of the car in check. If you don't have a lot of Ackerman or not a lot of toe out, it just keeps the front planted. It makes it not wash unpredictably. It helps if you have a ton of grip in the back of the car too. It just it's basically introducing a little tiny bit of drag on the front end of your car because you have done things with the setup to take away all the drag out of the front end of your car, which makes it feel very numb. So as soon as you start left foot braking a little bit, it kind of makes the car feel a little more natural. So if your car is set up to be very numb in the front and have no drag, no Ackerman angle really, the only way that is drivable is by using a little bit of left foot brake, in my opinion. And yeah, you could totally drive without left foot braking if you try. You just got to change your driving style. So that's my rundown of left foot braking.
Do you prefer using left foot braking or handbrake and chase?
It depends how my car is set up at the time, but I typically I feel like you have to do both. If you're following someone, for example, that is very similar to you in speed, very smooth, then I prefer left foot braking and not using the handbrake at all because the car is more fluid. If you're following someone that's kind of choppy and slows down really hard, then you can't just rely on left foot braking because it's sometimes not enough to slow you down abruptly. So then you have to play it on the safe side and use the handbrake when they slow down because you don't know how much they're going to slow down.
So do you see yourself using more left foot braking at a track, let's say like Seattle, than you would at, let's say, like Long Beach or Wall?
Tracks that carry a lot of speed and momentum, usually left foot braking is very effective because on the bank, for example, you could stay very committed and you don't have to lift off the throttle to slow down a tiny bit behind a driver. You could literally left foot brake just a little tiny bit and still be on throttle. That's one of those tracks that if you completely lift off throttle and your car is really gripped up and you get back in throttle, you're not guaranteed that the rear wheels are going to spin at the rate of speed that you need them to keep your front from jamming into the wall. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
So let's say that you just scored a 91 because the judges seem to really like that number 91 for qualifying runs on your first run using your standard Odi style. And then for run number 2, they duct tape your left foot to your clutch pedal and you can't left foot brake. What is your qualifying number? I know it's a tough question because you don't judge yourself, but how much is your driving reduced in your opinion by not left foot braking?
You know, at Irwindale, I made a point to, at a certain point during the round, during practice, I was like, I'm not going to left foot brake anymore because we had kind of a serious driver's meeting, and it was brought up in the judges just wanted to see less left foot braking, and it was kind of like a running joke that I would get picked on at driver's meeting for left foot braking every time a left foot brake conversation came up.
We're the face of left foot braking, I feel like.
So I just decided I'm just going to start driving with very little left foot brake and try not to use it at all. And it was very challenging to change the driving style like mid-event, and it's totally doable. So, yeah, to answer your question in short.
It paid off for you at
if you practice, would you say it paid off for me at Irwindale?
Well, minus your infraction with
Yeah.
James, but I mean, you did well up until that point. So
Yeah, it's totally doable either way. It's just tools in our toolbox as a driver. We could use the handbrake, we could use left foot brake, or we could just simply lift off throttle for a moment in time. They could all achieve the same result. So you have to choose what you feel like you enjoy more as a driver.
yeah.
So,
And if everyone is expecting you to left foot brake and then you don't, that's another tool in your arsenal, I guess.
yeah, I guess you could see it that way. But I feel like if you commit to not left foot braking, you basically are going to spend the majority of practice trying to dial in that style of driving. So you're not going to really alternate back and forth.
True.
So,
Well, you
yeah.
just need a montage. You need to upgrade your skill. Is that how that works? I don't know. I'm not a driver.
He's gonna need a montage.
We try to listen to what judges want, and a lot of our driving style and the tools that we use are influenced by what we are told at the drivers' meeting.
Gotcha.
So,
Well, that seems to be the logical way to go about it, I guess. Do what they want.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
probably right. Good idea.
I have a good question that I like from Alan M. Bryant. Is it possible to have coilovers that are good for country road carving as well as drifting?
Country road carving, man, that could fall under so many different.
Yeah, that
styles
means
of
a lot.
driving, but
But let's refine it to
like country road, like on tarmac, on paved road surfaces, right?
yeah. Let's
Yeah.
refine it to something
totally.
like versatile. Yeah.
I think they could totally do it. Drifting suspension for drifting is actually a more similar setup, in my opinion, to a street car than a road race car. So I think the question to his answer is yes.
Yeah. So it's better to have suspension that is good for the highway and drifting versus the highway and road course driving with speed.
Hardcore road race cars we set up to have a super high natural frequency, meaning the spring rate is really, really high. It's a very firm ride because you're usually utilizing very low tread wear rated tires that are huge in size. So as soon as you throw that suspension on a car with street tires without aero, doesn't work very well.
Right.
You have one?
Yeah, I got one. This is from Beat Farmer 89. Why aren't you drifting the Genesis? Arc performance and fuel suspension. It was so unique and cool to watch that car.
Yeah, it was cool and unique and fun, but
I like how you're like, thank God.
well, I got kind of picky when I started driving the Genesis because it introduced me a whole different style of car, and that car has a very long wheelbase, which is kind of cool because it's stable. But I always felt like I was kind of fighting the car, and I learned that I like cars with a slightly shorter wheelbase to drive, and no one was putting a gun to my head to keep driving that car, so I decided to drive the car that I really want to drive, which happens to be an older car and whatever, but it's more fun to drive.
Is an S14 considered a short wheelbase car in the modern day lineup?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at even front wheel drive cars like the Scion TC, that even has a longer wheelbase than like a 240.
Over 100
long,
inches.
So.
Yeah.
What happened to you in FIA, and how did you crash on your warm-up lap?
Yeah.
That was from Daddy. That was from Daddy Yankee.
Daddy Yankee always with the singers.
That we were trying to find more grip on that track, and I decided to make some extreme changes to the car to get more grip, and they worked really, really well. And I was going around a corner with very low angle just to kind of feel out the car, and it snapped back violently. And even when it snapped back, I was like really too calm behind the wheel. I was like, I'll just snap it back the other way. And it didn't go that way. When it snapped back, it gripped up so much that it just drove straight into a wall. So honestly, if it wasn't a warm-up lap, it wouldn't have happened. The fact that it was a warm-up lap is the reason it happened, because you're more relaxed behind the wheel and you're purposely trying different things and running shallower angle and trying to feel out the car. And it was a very small course. K-rails are right near you, and I went right into one.
Do you see yourself competing in another FIA here in the future?
I don't know. It'd have to logically make sense for my sponsors in order for me to ask for their aid for me to come out again. So if I could figure out a program that would benefit my sponsors, I would feel okay asking them to get me back out there. But,
Well, they did put out dates,
yeah.
and it's the same weekend as SEMA this year, so that's
that's you know, that throws
Perfect
a
planning.
huge complication into the efforts that most U.S.-based drivers put into their program.
Yeah. Question from the Maximum Drift Cats.
Ooh.
Yeah. 2 questions. If you could choose, if you could choose one FD Pro car, past or present, to drive, whose car would it be? And if you could choose one driver, past or present, to be your teammate, not currently on Team Falcon, who would it be? So, car and driver.
I want to try every single car in FD, but I honestly, that's a great question.
I imagine him.
I'd probably
Great
want
job,
to drive.
Maximum Driftcast.
I'd want to drive Vaughn's Mustang just because it's got to be wild and weird. So I want to try that out.
That's what I was gonna say. I would like to see Odi driving the Mustang.
Yeah, I just want to see. You know, they definitely have a very unique approach to the way they set up the car, and I'd love to feel first person how it is to drive that thing. So, yeah.
And teammates?
That's the answer to part 1. What's the other part?
Who would you like it
What
to be
driver
your
would you
teammate?
wanna-
Who would you replace Matt Field with? Because obviously he's not ideal. So let's just find
yeah,
the next,
no
the
way.
best. Let's find the best person.
Man.
Kelsey is a good teammate. He wouldn't wreck your car. Oh,
Ooh.
I already tried that.
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe someone that like wouldn't bug me, wouldn't say anything. Maybe like I don't know.
That's Drift
I mean,
Dad.
I mean, you guys could say
Matt Kaufman
Daigo.
seems pretty easygoing. You know, maybe someone just
Who was it? Who do you
yeah,
think?
Who'd say?
cool guy. Just you know.
Who?
Matt Kaufman's so cool. He's
Kaufman.
gonna like wake up and he's gonna like sleep next to you and shake you awake when you're having a bad dream. Are you sure you want that?
Think about how quiet it would be in their pits.
I don't know. I'm genuinely just like throwing out random ideas because I don't know. That'd be a cool idea though.
I feel like Kristaps is a man of few words. Like he doesn't speak unless he has something important to say. I feel like that's something good.
Yeah, that's very true. But then I feel like I'd have to watch my back because he's a little intimidating. So.
No, Kristaps will not stab you in the back. He'll stab you in the front twice.
Only view the set of it.
Right.
Have any
All
more?
right. Well, I think any more Instagram questions, boys?
Wait,
nothing.
never mind.
Yeah,
He's on Falcon. I was going to mention someone, but no, that doesn't work.
He's already your teammate.
Yeah.
God
Did you
dang it.
forget that
He's going to
JTP
say
was your
Dai Yoshihara or JTPP
Oh, you did say Juicy, weren't you?
or Ken Juicy.
Who do you guys think I was going to say?
Ken
Kenny
Gucci.
Juice.
You and
Juice
Gucci
man.
drive at Willow Lock together.
Yeah, we used to, but he hasn't gotten his car back together apparently.
Ooh, get your shit together, Goosh.
That's why I didn't want to be on our
Here's
show. That makes
one
sense.
last question from John Stamos 3. Least favorite track and most favorite track in FD.
All right, so least favorite track, Orlando. Most
Surprise. Sorry, Pat.
And then my most favorite track is Atlanta. I think most people like that track.
would
Yeah,
say
that
so.
seems to be the most common answer we get, and I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
with that being said, I think we're wrapped up with IG questions. Feel free to go in there. If you do have any free time, Odi, say hi to everybody. Answer some
After
questions.
put your little angels to bed and
Yep. After you do your dad stuff, your dad duties.
He means put us to bed. If you
Yep.
could just actually stand on the line and whisper.
Hey,
and
so just real quick, if you were to put us to bed, would you sing us a song or read us a book?
I'd definitely read you a book
What
which book?
versus singing a song.
I was going to ask you if you could sing us a song.
Yeah, I wanna hear
it.
because I like to hear.
I would read you Pete the Cat, written by James Dean.
Wait, James Dean read a book called Pete the Cat.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, I
bad.
think it's a different James Dean, but I still have
Oh.
Adrinna.
James Dean
had
is-
James
is-
Dean signed that book for her during
Really?
At Irwindale. Yeah, I got it on video. It was cute.
Yeah.
Can we do like a special MD segment of you reading us all to sleep with that book by
Sure,
James Dean?
yeah,
All right,
I have to find it.
Sing us,
well,
sing us a
just get
lullaby
ready for
then.
that.
You know, Sam's favorite adult actor is James Dean.
It's true.
Is he-
Second one is
Nice.
Peter Wiechek.
That's why Sam's hairstyle is kind of reminiscent.
It looks like yours. You guys are matching hairstyles, except Sam just has a little more,
Yeah, do you guys
a little more tent.
you guys both have
shade.
the California haircut?
Don't look at me like that, Sam. I didn't do anything.
All right. Well, Odi, it sounds like you have some Adrinna business to take care of. We very much appreciate
Definitely
you
do.
taking the time out of your pre-Long Beach schedule and, of course, Adrinna's time. So thank you and good luck, and we'll see you at Long Beach.
Cool. Thank you guys for having me on the show, as always.
Thanks
Later,
for
homie.
having
See
me.
ya.
We'll see you, buddy.
Good night, Adrina.
Later, guys.
Bye. Is he gone?
He's working on it.
He's gone. Okay.
All right. Thank the gods.
Is
All
he
right,
back?
that guy sucks. No, he's gone. That was me exiting him out. Worst dad ever. Why would he spend 2 hours talking to us when he's got a daughter to take care of?
Because
Yeah.
we're 3 man babies, Sam. He needs to take care of his
guess-
man babies.
I guess we need it more than she does. We're the ones that require attention and care.
Plus, we only ask for his time twice a year, maybe 3 times a year.
He does, like, it's funny, though, too. He does come up often as an idea for a guest because he's so nice to talk to. And even though he's running the same car he's run for 30 years or whatever, he's still fun to talk to about it.
Isn't that crazy to think about, those? He's been running the same car for so long, and it's probably considered the most popular drift car, and he's still finding ways to develop
Yeah,
it to make
well,
it better.
And he's still top 5.
Well, he's still
I got
finding ways to
sidetracked.
develop it to make it better. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
there's still more things that he's learning about that car, even though
Well,
it's been
that's-
around for so long. What, Sam?
Unless someone new comes into Formula Drift with an S14, I think it's just him and Alec
Yep.
for 2018
Yep.
running an S14 chassis. So they are the last.
And Matt-
unfortunately, we heard that Juha is out, right?
Yep.
Yuha's out. Matt
And he had a 15.
Yeah, Matt
Kaufman's
Kaufman's
a
in the 13.
Piotr and Jimmy D are
S15s.
in S15s.
Wang's in the 15.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Wang's is bringing back the 15. So actually, there's a lot of S chassis.
Yeah, but there's only 2 S14s,
The
one
2 S14s
S13.
and 1 S13. But see, like, that's the thing. I mean, just think about it. Wisefab just came up with a new version of their kit for the S13 and S14, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's still people making new stuff. It's not like, that's it. We've made everything. It's dead.
It's pretty crazy. I wonder how many other 23-year-old now cars are getting parts made for them. Maybe a Civic and maybe like a Hachiroku are still getting some shit. But other than
like, I
that, I
don't-
doubt there's
Mustang,
maybe some Beamers.
Yeah, Mustangs are starting to get a lot of attention.
Sure. All right. So I take it all back. A lot of these cars that are now becoming viable for tuners and drifters to drive, I'm sure, are getting new parts and interesting parts. So.
E36 too. That's ramping up
All
in
right.
popularity.
Take it easy. I'm wrong.
Ganging on Sam. Sam, you know nothing. Sam's no.
Good ref. Good ref. All right. So we have the episode title. It's Odi De Joy, or
I
do we
was-
call it
I think Odi De Joy in B minor. And B is for
What?
bass flute.
bass flute? Okay. All right. We'll work that out after the show. Do we have anyone to thank for the show, or no?
Yes, a lot of people. And we can
we go.
start with. We're gonna start. Thanks to Corey Hosford. Corey, thank you for being here.
Paco, I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this special episode. You know, I'm hoping I'll be able to make it back next week, and I wish you guys the best.
I'd like to thank Corey. Corey, thank you for letting me be a part of this episode.
Yep.
I hope to see you next weekend, and I wish you the best.
No, Sam, we would love to have you back next week. I'm sure one of our reps will reach out to you to see if you're available. I know you have a packed schedule with Snap-on and Strap-on tools that your hands are full and your pockets are full.
Yep. Paco, I'd like to thank you for being on the show. Thanks for letting Corey on the show. We'll see you next week. I'll have my people call you if you're not busy with snack on. If you're not busy snacking on food. Paco, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, it probably means nothing, but I think it's a good time to also thank AM Intakes. Because
Sure.
if without AEM intakes, we wouldn't have an intake, and Corey would be like super skinny.
I don't know how that goes in hand in hand. I was just
Food
thinking
intake.
if you want things that suck a lot, right into your engine. If you want to suck more air into the orifice of your engine, get a good sucker valve. AM
Yeah,
Intakes is one of the best sucker valves this side of the Mississippi, and they
Do you
ship.
not suck enough? Get a
more
put
bigger
a filter
sucker.
in your
Yeah.
mouth.
Get a bigger sucker, and you'll have more friends and more noises.
Now, if you
I
want
would
to
the
also
crazy
like
part
to
is-
thank AM Intakes for making intakes for Honda, because when VTEC kicks in and they have a sucker valve on it,
You
Yep.
can hear it.
you can hear it.
you can totally
I
hear
want to
it.
thank AM for making those little intakes that go on your valve cover. Those are intakes that matter, right? Those ones.
Yeah, those are important too.
Proven 2,000 horsepower. Look at the numbers online. And I want to thank Patreon.
Well, before,
Thanks for-
well, yeah, okay,
Oh,
let's do Patreon.
Oh,
yeah.
do you have an order, Paco?
Well, I mean, just like
No,
the
Paco
usual-
just interrupted. Go, Sam. You run, and then Paco will take over. Go,
No,
go, go, go.
No. We still have to.
Disgusting.
We have. If you want to be a clean G and have a lot of grip in your hands, we got to thank McLeod Clutches. McLeod, also been supporting the show. They're being McLeod Tuner Series. You know, you want to get a good clutch for your car, and you don't want to break the piggy bank. You can get a good McLeod. McLeod.
Hold
Wow.
on.
Paco just had a full brain meltdown. So
that's
McLeod Clutches, thank you for McLeod Clutch for everything. And then Sam, go ahead.
The Patreons now.
I guess I'll thank Patreon. If you have $1,000 a month to spare, give it to us, or else, if you have $1 to spare, give it to us, or else. You know, I'm
Or
not
else.
going to judge. You better give it to us, whatever money you have. I don't care if it's little. I don't care if it's a lot. Paco needs money for his hentai. Look, good hentai isn't cheap. Paco can tell you. To uncensor it alone costs Paco $3,000 a month. You've seen that stuff. It's censored. It's gross looking. You don't know what it is. It's pixelated. There's a bunch of squares. I don't care how many squares. You can't see them. You can't see the bits. You can't see what's good. Am I right, Paco?
It's-
Paco needs your money.
Totally right. So give me that money for my hentai.
Mhm, thank you. Corey, anything else?
That's it from me, boys. We'll see you guys next week. Long Beach is coming up. It looks like we have our next two guests maybe booked out for the next 2 weeks.
Should we
Yeah,
reveal it?
let's give a sneak
Nope.
peek. No?
No, because what if they change? Because they cancel.
Well,
after
just a
this
sneak
episode.
peek. Well, we had to
What
push
if they
back
heard?
JD.
What if they hear this episode and they're like, "I'm
Let's
Never
just
gonna be on-
I like having teachers. I like having people thinking of questions. It gives them a week to prepare.
let's just give him a like a clue.
Just tell them. Hit him. Don't clue. Just hit him with it.
It's a thunder from down under.
Josh
Mel
Robinson.
Gibson."
Well, I mean, Corey guessed right.
Yep.
Mel Gibson.
Josh
You heard it here
Robinson.
first.
And then the next week after that is going to be
Kurt Russell.
The
Russell,
goosh
that's
the
right.
goosh is
Ken
loose.
Juicy. So we have Josh Robinson and Ken Gucci before Long Beach.
Maybe.
Think of your questions now. The Instagram questions have been awesome. It's something we've been doing pretty much every episode so far. We continue doing it. Thank you guys for your participation. But until then, we will see you guys next week here on Maximum Driftcast.
Right.
Driftcast. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
The end.
Bye.
I said the end already. You can't talk after I say the end.
Well, I totally did.